Good morning. It is Monday, September 21st, and the start of a new weekly reading vlog. And I am pretty pumped about what I'm currently reading and what I have on deck. So I am currently physically reading The Last Plot. I'm about 150 pages in. As I mentioned at the end of the last vlog, it was just a busy weekend. I haven't been able to do as much physical reading as I've been hoping to recently. So I'm 150 pages into this one, so hopefully I can finish that relatively quickly. And I'm also listening to The House in the Cerulean Sea on audio. I have about 7 hours left of the audiobook, so I'm not halfway, but I think I'm more than a third of the way through. And I'm absolutely adoring this book. It's so fantastic. It's just so funny and charming and whimsical so far. And I'll talk a little bit more about that one, I think, a little bit later on. The next physical book that I want to pick up is Hero of Ages, so hopefully I can finish this one relatively soon and pick up Hero of Ages this week, even if it's later on in the week. But I really want to finish the Mistborn series, and I'm so excited to get to Hero of Ages. And then my next audiobooks are going to be Howl's Moving Castle and A Pinch of Magic. And Howl's Moving Castle is by Diana Wynne Jones, and A Pinch of Magic is by Michelle Harrison. And those are going to be my next ones. It's just going to be a fun middle grade fantasy week and just full of charming and whimsical books. So we'll see how much of that I can get through this week, but those are the main priorities for this week. And then I think I'll get through just about everything I had set out to read, almost everything I had set out to read this month. So we'll see if I can actually finish everything in my September TBR, and I will check in later this week. Good morning. So it is Friday, and I have a couple of different updates. So first of all, I finished The House in the Cerulean Sea. Y'all, this is so fucking precious. So this follows Linus Baker, who works for a government agency that looks after, or not looks after, but regulates the orphanages that take care of magical children. And so he'll go around to different orphanages, just make sure they're being run well, that the children are treated well, that they're happy and healthy. And so he's a caseworker for this agency. And he gets an assignment from extremely upper management to go to a particular orphanage, and that's kind of a special case, and kind of take a look at it, make sure that the kids are treated well. They're kids that haven't really been able to fit in anywhere else. They've just kind of the peculiar, odd cases. They're not normal magical children, and so they haven't really known what to do with these kids, but they want to check in on this orphanage. So Linus goes to this orphanage. It's a house on a Cerulean Sea, and it's on an island. And so he goes and he meets the children and gets to know them. He meets the person who runs this orphanage. His name is Arthur, and it's just about Linus and him getting to know these kids. So the kids are absolutely precious. So one of them is supposedly the Antichrist. One of them is, there are a bunch of different kids. So there's, one of them is this little kid who just wants to be a bellhop, which sounds so silly, but it was just so charming and so cute. Like, he just wanted to be a bellhop at a hotel and carry people's luggage and wash their clothes. And then, there's some other kids there as well that you get to know. And Linus is supposed to stay there for about a month, kind of write a report every week about what he's seen, and go from there. And so he stays there for a month. He gets to know these kids. He gets to know how much Arthur cares for these kids, and how Arthur has come to really understand each of these kids and what they need and how to take care of them in the best way. And he's just such a calm, understanding, compassionate person. And he also gets to know some of the people in a town nearby and kind of what prejudices they have against these magical children. and how, how the villager, how the people in this town treat these kids. I mean, these kids are basically, stuck on this island because they can't even go into this town without experiencing some pretty harsh things. And so, Linus sees all of this. He also meets someone who is kind of in charge of the island in a sense, and is letting Arthur and the kids stay there at this orphanage and kind of helping do her best to also help take care of these kids. And yeah, it's just about Linus kind of first wanting to, he's someone who very much sticks to the rules and doesn't necessarily understand kind of what happens to the kids after he, for example, recommends that an orphanage be closed. He just kind of has never really questioned his job, questioned what it means to be a caseworker. Has never really kind of questioned a lot in his life, but he really comes to care for these kids and care for Arthur and care about this orphanage, and just really starts to question a lot about what he's believed, and ultimately wants to make sure that the kids understand that just because you're different doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you, and that people kind of need to really get to understand someone before they judge them. And it's just the most precious, heartwarming, uplifting story. And I just adored it. I loved it. I listened to the audiobook. I really enjoyed the audiobook. So that was my main book for this week. I also have been reading more in The Lost Plot. I am almost done with this, so I'll talk about this a little bit as well. So this is the 4th book in the Invisible Library series by Genevieve Cogman, and this follows Irene, who is a librarian. And this library is kind of outside of space and time. And she, you can go to different worlds essentially through this library. And, you can go into different places, different times, and Irene is a librarian, and essentially her job, it's like a librarian spy mix. It's really, really cool. So sometimes she needs to go to these worlds in order to collect a book. And sometimes in order to do that, you need to do some pretty interesting things. Sometimes you need to, change your identity and kind of blend into this world so that you can find this book, track it down, and get it. And sometimes it's much more simple than other times. So of course Irene's cases are never simple, because otherwise it would be an interesting story. There are specific stories that are fleshed out in each of the books, but there's also kind of an overarching story throughout the series, and there's similar players or some of the same players that are involved in different books. And so, which I kind of love when series do that, so that you still get some semblance of kind of a direction where the story overall is going, but you still get kind of different and unique stories in each of the books. So that's kind of what this book does. So it follows different worlds, or you're on different worlds in most of the different books, and you're in different situations, but you can still kind of see how it all ties together and see how the different players are interacting with each other. And because it's the 4th book in the series, one of the things that I like is that the author can just kind of jump right in. The characters have already been introduced, the players have already been introduced, and so you can just kind of jump in, and you don't really need to do as much of the development or as much of that before you can just kind of jump right into the story, which is a lot of fun. I think I like the setup of this book the most of any of them so far. So yeah, in this one you kind of follow a 1920s New York world, and you follow some of the same kind of groups that have been in previous books, but of course there's a different set of politics that's playing out in here, and it's just fun. But yeah, I think I just for some reason like the setup or behind this book, or kind of the politics that's playing out in this book, even more than in some of the other ones. So I'm really enjoying this one a lot. I've got like 40 pages left, less than 40 pages left. So I'm definitely going to finish this today, or I'm very hopeful that I can finish this today. And so I'll check in and just let you know how the last 30 pages was. But that's probably going to be, yeah, there's not much more I can say. I'm not going to say anything about the actual ending, of course. There's not much more I can say since it's 4 books in. But the next physical book, once I finish this one, the next physical book I'm going to pick up is Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson, the last book in the Mistborn series, and I'm very excited. So I'm going to pick that one up, and I'm currently on audio listening to A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison, so I'll talk more about that one later. Hopefully I can finish it this weekend. We'll see. So those are my current reads and what's going on, and I will check in a bit later. Good morning. It is Tuesday, September 29th, so I'm going to wrap up this vlog. I had such a good reading week. Finishing House in the Cerulean Sea was incredible. I also did finish The Last Plot by Genevieve Cogman. I talked about it in a previous clip, and I think that's pretty much all I want to say. I did like the ending. There was a little bit left that I had to go, and I did like the ending. This was just a solid one. It was so much fun. I think this is my favorite one of the series so far. I think it was my favorite setup just in terms of what was going on in the politics in this book. But I really enjoyed this one, and definitely looking forward to continuing the series. And then physically, I started and will be continuing on with The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. This is the last one in the Mistborn series, so I'll be talking about that more next week. And then on audio, I did finish A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. This one was such a delight. So this one follows 3 sisters, and they are essentially, there's a family curse, and they are cursed to kind of stay in the place that they are. They can't really leave, or they'll die by the end of the day. And there are also some magical objects that have been passed down in their family. Essentially, they're trying to find a way to lift this curse, and it's about their adventure to do so, and everything they have to do to try to lift this curse. And oh my god, it was so precious. I love the sisters. I love the side characters that they're going on this adventure with, and I love their family, their grandmother. This was such just a fun story. And the sisters were just absolutely precious, and I loved their bond, and I loved their determination, their resourcefulness. So you just kind of follow them on this adventure, and you also kind of go back to the time where the curse was established and kind of figure out why the curse was established as the sisters are figuring out kind of more of the history of the curse, and you know what potentially they can do to lift this curse. But it was just enjoyable. It was so much fun. The narrator was fantastic, and I'm very excited to listen to the next one in the series. I think it's on Scribd. For some reason it's not on Audible, but it is on Scribd last I checked, which is kind of weird. Anyway, on audio, I have also just after A Pinch of Magic recently started How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram X. Kendi, so I'll be talking about that one more in next week's vlog. But thank you so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more bookish content. And I'll leave my Twitter and Instagram link down below. That's where I like to hang out, and I'll also leave resources for how you can support the Black Lives Matter movement. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!